The film, based on real events, begins with the fact that in Honduras, former model and beauty queen Giselle comes to Roberto's house. She suggests that the man bring the children to audition for the modeling business, believing that little Rocio and her younger brother Miguel have every chance to become a model. In the morning, the family takes the bus to audition, but Roberto does not let them in with the children, telling him to pick them up in the evening. Giselle photographs children in advantageous poses and angles for photogenicity. In the evening, Roberto returns for the children, but the room is empty and deserted. In a panic, Roberto breaks into the rest of the rooms, but there is not a soul left in the whole building. Further actions are unfolding in California. An anonymous person on the computer is watching videos of tests with children. Outside the house, National Security Special Agent Tim Ballard is sitting in a van, tracking the IP address of the request. After making sure that we are talking about children, he and his partner go into the house in order to catch the pervert red-handed. During the search, there is also enough evidence of guilt, including a dossier with photos of young children. Later, when his partner found out that Tim had caught 288 pedophiles, he wondered how many abducted children he had saved. Due to the fact that most of the children were in other countries,
Салам, достор, байланный ставка с кануская каналы. Фильм начинается с того, что в Гондурасе бывшая модель и королева красоты приходит в дом Роберто. Она предлагает мужчине прийти на прослушивание для того, чтобы своих детей отправить в модельный бизнес. Салам, достор, байланный ставка с кануская каналы. Фильм начинается с того, что бывшая модель и королева красоты Жизель приходит в дом Роберто. Она предлагает мужчине привести детей на прослушивание, чтобы стать моделью.
After returning the pedophile to the cell, the agent smiles at him through the window. But as soon as he walks away, his eyes fill with anger. Tim has a loving wife and children waiting for him at home, which only exacerbates the feeling of helplessness due to the inability to save the victims of pedophiles. He asks the boss for a week of time for his own operation, to ingratiate himself with the arrested molester Ashinsky. Tim frees him from arrest, takes him home, and during the conversation, he is interested in traveling abroad for illegal purposes. Later, Ashinsky gives a copy of his book with an autograph and a photo of Miguel. He arranged to buy a baby for a new friend. The agent smiles broadly and sincerely, after which he arrests the pedophile again. When his colleagues take him away, Tim looks at little Miguel. There is heavy traffic on the US-Mexico border. Tim, along with the border guards, checks the incoming cars, looking for the boy from the photo among the children, who should be brought by order. Noticing Miguel, the agent gives the command to arrest the driver, thereby saving Miguel from future abuse. Miguel is taken to the hospital where it turns out that the child was sexually abused. When Tim takes the boy to a diner to eat, he learns about his sister, who is also being held captive by slavers. The boy remembers how they were put in a van from a photo shoot and taken to some abandoned warehouse, where they were loaded into the back of a truck, after which a container ship took them by sea to Colombia. There, the live goods were unloaded in front of a new buyer who was detained by Tim at the Mexican border. Since then, the boy has not seen his sister. The fat man who bought Miguel out said that if you don't obey me, then people with guns will kill his sister. Then they went on a plane flight to Mexico, where the boy was handed over to the owner of a nightclub. Tim organizes the flight of the boy's father to hand him over personally. Going home, the boy hands over the amulet of his sister, which she gave him before parting. Unable to find peace of mind, Tim goes to prison to interrogate Fat Earl, an arrested slave trader. Having received the necessary information, he gets down to business. At this time, the girl is assigned to a cheap brothel for perverts, where she begins to accept the first heartless clients. Tim finds her file and asks her boss for help, but their jurisdiction does not extend to Colombia. Nevertheless, the boss sends him on an unofficial business trip with a minimum of funding so that he does not have to account for an unauthorized waste of taxpayers' money. Tim arrives in Colombia, where he is met by his colleague, Jorge. They go to a troubled neighborhood to question an informant, who is a former accountant of a drug cartel named Vampiro. After serving his sentence, Vampiro began to buy children himself, but only in order to let them go. First of all, Vampiro criticizes the agent's appearance. He is dressed too formally for a tourist. Then he warns that the chances of finding exactly Rocio are minimal. The girl can be anywhere, perhaps even in Moscow or Astana. But Vampiro knows how to find Giselle, a former model who helps kidnap children. Sitting on the couch, Tim reads the news about the successes of colleagues around the world, and at this time a brilliant idea comes to his mind. He suggests that Vampiro organize a fictitious underground business to arrest criminals red-handed. To do this, he enlists the enthusiastic millionaire Paul, who likes to help the police for the sake of a sense of justice. Vampiro goes to the supplier of sex slaves with a proposal to organize a private club. All that is needed is to provide models. We are talking about at least 50 children. After receiving the order, the kidnappers prepare to fulfill it. Jorge does not stay away and follows them, collecting evidence of a criminal conspiracy and an organized network, which includes the heartless Giselle. But the situation escalates when Tim is denied further funding and told to return home. After discussing the situation in a heart-to-heart conversation with Vampiro, the agent realizes that he cannot give up the case halfway. He will retire to complete what he started, despite the fact that he has less than a year left before retirement. Tim convinces millionaire Polo to finance the operation, to which, although not immediately, he agrees. They begin to develop a plan, using personal and professional connections to rent a private island that actually belongs to the Colombian government. Tim's former boss, bypassing the bureaucracy, convinces his foreign colleagues to help. Vampiro also teaches Polo how to behave and behave properly with slavers. Soon, the organizers of the operation meet with them in a rented penthouse, including Giselle. An experienced criminal is interested in the specific tastes of a millionaire, as if she feels the falsity in his words. But everything does not go without the intervention of Tim's seasoned agent. Following the meeting, they agree on the supply of at least 50 children for the underground brothel. On the appointed day, merchants deliver live goods to Ostrava, but there are fewer children than agreed. Giselle promises that the second batch will arrive soon. In addition, a new man, nicknamed Don King, arrived with them, who was not at the talks, which is a little annoying for Tim. Nevertheless, the operation continues. A millionaire is throwing money around while sellers and fictitious buyers are drinking champagne. When the intoxicated Don King goes to choose a victim for his pleasures, the vampire distracts him with alcohol in order not to inflame the situation. Tim contacts the operations team, realizing that the situation may get out of control before the second batch arrives. He also has to take the boy away from Don King in order to prevent a crime. The situation is escalating dramatically. Don King's bodyguard pulls out a gun and presents it to Tim by cocking the trigger. Vampiro asks Tim to give the child away to defuse the situation, after which the guest takes the guest back to drink instead of the bedroom. When a boat with a second batch of prisoners approaches the island, the task force gives the command to detain and docks on the other side of the island. When the children have been unloaded from the boat, the operatives sneak up to the camp, detaining everyone who was there, including undercover agents so as not to disrupt the disguise. At the same time, they take Don King away, patting him on the back, wanting to pass him off as an informant. Later, when the merchants were taken away, Jorge informs Tim that they saved 54 children, although Rocio is not among them. This is reported to her father, who is pining looking at his daughter's empty room. Vampiro and Tim go to the children, who clap their hands together and sing joyfully. During the interrogation, Jorge, using proven methods of psychological pressure, receives the necessary information about the accomplices of pedophiles. It becomes clear from it that Rocio has long been sold to the leader of a drug transplant named Scorpio. But the buyer's tracks are lost in the rebel-controlled forests. There is no federal government there. Jorge is sure that her tracks are lost on this, then there is no chance to get the girl out. But Vampiro has a plan. And what if he pretends to be doctors whose help is needed by the rebels themselves, the slavers, or their victims? Having prepared fake documents, they get ready for the journey. Jorge immediately warns that he will not go further than the river with them. They will be on their own in the lands controlled by the guerrillas. Wandering through the jungle, they interview the locals and get to the Scorpion camp. At night, before they visit him, Vampiro reminds them that in case of failure, no one will save them. Early in the morning, they board a boat, say goodbye to Jorge, and sail away. Further down the river, they come across a boat of armed men who greet them with shots in the air, thereby showing who is the boss in these suburbs. The rebels are shaking up the travelers' boxes to make sure that there are only medicines and no weapons. Having contacted the base by radio, the rebels say that only one of them will go further. Tim volunteers, warning Vampiro that he will return at night and that he should be ready. Taking the vaccines, the rebels and the agent sail to the base. Jorge uses a GPS tracker to see a colleague moving down the river into the depths of the jungle. Upon arriving at the right place, the agent tells that a cholera outbreak can turn into an epidemic that can kill everyone in the camp. He insists on evacuation, but Scorpio says to find all the patients and bring them to him. Wandering among the staff of the cocaine plantation, Tim looks out for Rocio among the people. He notices her among the children kneading coca leaves with their feet for further production. The man calls the girl by name and she turns around. The agent says that he came to save her, but then Scorpio appears, interrupting the conversation. At night, Tim sneaks around the camp, looking for a place where Rocio sleeps, but she is not among the plantation workers. Then the agent sneaks further past the campfire where drunken rebels are engaged in drinking alcohol. He finds her in Scorpio's wooden house sleeping on a bed. However, when Tim sees the girl, she screams in fear, which attracts the attention of the drug dealer himself. Leaving the guitar, Scorpio goes into the house to check on the concubine. He finds her in bed, not noticing Tim hiding under the bed. The rebel takes the girl and puts her on his bed. Telling the girl to close her eyes with a gesture, Tim gets into a fight with the scorpion, killing it with a chokehold. After hiding the body, Tim and Rocio escape into the night jungle to get to Vampiro and Jorge's car. They manage to get to the river and steal a boat before the leader's corpse is found, and the alarm is raised. Having tracked the approach of a comrade on the tracker, they prepare for an emergency withdrawal under a hail of bullets chasing their rebels. Rescuers manage to successfully get out of the territory of the partisans together with the girl. Inside the van, Tim puts a locket in her hand, which he got from her brother. Rocio is taken to the city hospital, where her happy father visits her in the morning along with Miguel. Unable to hold back her tears, the girl hugs them. Later, the reunited family flies home on a plane. After a few painful months, the girl returns to her room. Sitting on the bed, she picks up a drum and starts tapping out a rhythm to which she tightens the song. This is the sound of freedom. The camera slowly moves away, flying out through the window, and on this positive note, the film moves on to historical references and cuts of operational filming, with the detention of traffickers, as well as information about the profitability of such an inhumane business, which still cannot be managed. There are more people in slavery today than ever before, including the days when slavery was legal.